I have a very close friend, Father Ernest Mawa, in Nigeria. We began the journey to the priesthood at the same time from the minor seminary. We were ordained on the same day for the Catholic Diocese of Ida in Nigeria. Since I came to the United States, most times when we talk over the phone, we tend to joke about the time difference between Nigeria and San Diego. At this moment, Nigeria is 9 hours ahead of San Diego. As such, when it is 9 a.m. here in San Diego, it is 6 p.m. in Nigeria. Some days, when I call him after my weekday morning mass at about 9 a.m., he greets me, "Good evening." Then I correct him saying, "Excuse me, my friend, it is good morning here." Other times, when I miss his calls in the morning, I call back explaining that I was in the chapel for my morning prayer when he called. He would then say jokingly, "Why do you say morning prayer at night? I just ate my dinner and now ready for my night prayer." Then I would fight back saying, "Keep quiet, my friend. We are just waking up here." On one of such days, we were talking over the phone. It was another opportunity to revisit the time difference. I told him that Nigeria was in a better position than San Diego. I explained that being 9 hours ahead of San Diego, Nigeria receives the blessings of God 9 hours before San Diego. After all, the sun rises in Nigeria 9 hours before rising in San Diego. He agreed with me, but he added that there is also a sense in which the position of San Diego is more advantageous. He said, "I will only benefit from that vantage point if I am nice to him." He explained that since Nigeria is 9 hours ahead of San Diego, at the time of the rapture, at the final coming of Christ, when the trumpets would sound, it will be experienced in Nigeria 9 hours before San Diego. And so if I am nice to him, he would give me a call to alert me saying, "Oh boy, you have 9 hours to clean up your mess. The master is here." I'm sure you know that it's not the official position of the church and it has no scriptural backing. Those were just two young priests enjoying some comic relief. At this time of the liturgical year, when we listen to apocalyptic writings at Mass, readings that remind us of the final coming of Christ and of the end of the world, one of the things I like bringing into my homilies is to ask parishioners, what would you do if an angel comes to tell you now that you have 1 more hour to the end of the world? It is usually interesting to hear the different strategies. Some would say, "I will call my parents and tell them how much I love them." Others would say, "I will go and reconcile with anyone I am not in good terms with." There are others with answers like, "I will withdraw all my money from the bank and share to the poor." The most common response is, "I will go to a priest and confess all my sins." At the end of the sharing, I will say to the congregation, "I have bad news for you. I don't think you will be told that you have 1 more hour. So, begin to do all you have said now, because this might be the time." Considering today's gospel passage, one might be tempted to protest. out of place. The gospel passage of today seemed to have been wrongly selected for the first Sunday of Advent. In Advent, we prepare for the birth of Jesus. The birth of a child should bring joy and celebration. Why then are we faced with a reading that evokes fear today? Why does Jesus seem to frighten us with his words today? But come to think of it, even in our individual families, do infants not evoke some kind of healthy fear in the adult members of the family? The infants do not say much. It is either yes or no. For yes, they smile or keep calm, and for no, they cry. No negotiation, no compromise. Some time ago, I had an infant baptism here. Shortly after I poured water over the baby's head, he began to cry. The ceremony immediately paused. Mom, dad, and sponsors running from pillar to post, trying to interpret the cry and respond appropriately. At that point, it dawned on me that these infants are more powerful than armed soldiers or terrorists. It is possible to find people who are courageous enough to fight back in the case of an adult who is armed, or diplomatic enough to negotiate with terrorists. But in the case of infants, it is either their way or the highway. Similarly, at Christmas, we shall meet an infant who does not welcome compromise. You are either for him or not for him. No middle position, no political correctness, no sitting on the fence. It is either yes or no. We are expected to extend same delicate and fearful consent to everyone we relate with, because the infant Jesus is able to make himself present in our neighbors. On the cross, 33 years later, he will stretch out his hands and ask us to choose between his left and his right. No midpoint. At the judgment, he will take the sheep to the right and the goats to the left. If you love God and your neighbor, you have chosen the right. But if you do not show love, you have chosen the left. After telling us all the frightening things that will happen at the end of time, Jesus says, be vigilant. He challenged us to wake up from slumber and to be sober from drunkenness. A little girl was once asked by her teacher, assuming in your sleep you dream that you are in a house that is on fire, and as you try to run out of the house, you see that the house is surrounded by very dangerous wild animals waiting to eat you up. What would you do? Would you go back to the burning house or to meet the wild animals? The little girl thought for a while and said, I will immediately wake up from my sleep. The only way to escape the horrors of a bad dream is to wake up. Jesus wants us to wake up from our slumber, to wake up from complacency and not be surprised by the horrors he has described earlier. Many of us have become too relaxed in our faiths. We justify our actions or inaction saying, God understands, or God is merciful. We celebrate the theology of human weakness, forgetting that the same God who is merciful is also just, as the first reading reminds us today. God does not expect any extraordinary achievements from us. He only expects fidelity and commitment to our ordinary responsibilities. And now is the right time, not tomorrow. Jesus is coming at Christmas as an infant, very delicate. You make him smile when you show love to your neighbor, and you make him cry when you don't show love to your neighbor. And so I ask, are you going to make him smile or make him cry? The choice is yours.